What's up, y'all? Welcome to the From Chaos to Clarity podcast. I'm your host, Sonja Jones with GFP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of Money. And today we are talking about receipts, paperwork, documentation, however you want to talk about it, whatever you call it. That's what we're going to talk about today. So I have some best practices I want to share with you. Just one particular update that I do want to let you guys know that as we are trucking along in this podcast journey, we're shifting things a little bit. We are actually going to be issuing out or releasing new episodes every other week going forward because we're actually trying to experiment a little bit. So we're going to alternate between podcasts and lives and live streaming and stuff like that throughout the summer just to kind of see, how the engagement and stuff goes. So I appreciate you guys and appreciate your patience in advance as we kind of, shift some things around to see how things work. Okay. So again, I'll always love your feedback. Keep me posted on what you think works, what doesn't work, all that good stuff. We love feedback here at GIP. Okay. So without further ado, and I got my notes here. So we're going to talk about these common picking receipts and these documents. So CEOs, if you really want to show your street cred and how organized your business is, you want to make sure that you have all your receipts in some type of system, right? Everybody's, jam may not be just putting everything in a folder, right? I personally suggest that you have a physical copy and an electronic copy because the ink that these receipts are being printed on now, it's like invisible ink. Within 3 to 7 days, their receipt is like, you don't even know what it is. It's like gone, right? So I'm going to give you guys some different types of documentation and, like I said, some best practices based on what I've done, not only in my business, but also with some of my other endeavors as well. Okay. So first and foremost, why is documentation important? Well, first of all, you got to prove what you spent. Because remember, if you have a business, your purchases have to be ordinary and necessary for your business, right? So you have to prove, right, that those purchases were legitimate for your business. Second thing, stewardship. You want to make sure, especially if you guys are, receiving grants, particularly, you got to show that you are spending that money the way that you said you would spend it, right? And especially on a different tangent, like because I used to work for a school, your federal funding could be altered if it doesn't show that you will be a good steward of your resources. So if you got like Title I money or with COVID money, like ESSER money and things like that, but I use Title I because that's been pretty standard and it's not, affected by any type of special circumstance. But the saying goes, and I'm pretty sure it's universal with schools within the United States, if you don't spend all your Title I money, there's a good chance that you run the risk of not receiving as much money the upcoming year, right? So you have to prove not only that you spent it, but you spent it within the guidelines, right? And then last, but certainly not least, is compliance, right? So you have to make sure that you have documentation to prove that your entity is in good standing, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit, that you filed your taxes the way that you were supposed to, right? If you're a for-profit, if you're a nonprofit, the 990 is not necessarily a tax filing report. It's just the fact that you have to report your financial activities to the federal government, right? So the 990 is not a tax form for the nonprofits because nonprofits don't pay taxes, right? especially in that case, if you're a tax exempt organization, let me say that. So you want to make sure that you have documentation to prove that your organization, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, is what you said that it is. Okay, and especially with the nonprofits too, in the realm of donations, you got to make sure that your documentation is tight in that scenario as well. Okay, so that's why documentation is important. So here are some of the different types of documentation. Like I said, I'm just going based off of from my personal experience as a business owner and as a charter school / nonprofit leader, and as well as some of the documentation that we've seen with some of our clients. So the first is entity documentation, right? Such as your EIN letter, your any of your state entity documentation. If you are an LLC, corporation, your articles of organization, if you're a nonprofit, your documentation with the state, as well as any of your particular licenses that are required, for your organization, and insurance. Make sure you have insurance. If you're a nonprofit, your bylaws. Okay, if you are a for-profit that has multiple members or multiple owners, make sure you have a partnership agreement. Any type of policies that are in place for your organization need to be written out, and as well as standard operating procedures, right? So those are some of those things. When you sign up for the Know Your Numbers Bootcamp, we provide an entity document checklist that's part of the Know Your Numbers Bootcamp, and you get that for free with the program. So if you have not signed up for it, the next one is July the 10th and 17th. So it's in a couple weeks by the time this particular video is released, right? And so the price is $597, and there are flexible payments through Klarna. So make sure that you check that out. Okay. Next, we have client documentation. Every for-profit business, especially service-based businesses, let me clarify that, you should definitely have some type of client engagement documentation, whether it's an assigned estimate, quote, contract, engagement letter, whatever the document says that lets you and the client know what you're going to do for the client, how much it costs, and what the agreed outcomes / deliverables are. You need to have that. And also, you got to make sure in that document too, in the event, if there's a termination request, what does that look like for either party, stuff like that. So, and of course, also make sure that you get those things created and reviewed by an attorney. Okay. Check with your local chamber of commerce. I'm pretty sure there is some type of free resource where you can get some type of legal aid, right? But please don't be out here doing business without any type of engagement letter, right? To save yourself as well as to protect your clients. General receipts, right? Whether it's an electronic or physical one, make sure you keep your receipts, proof of payment. Statements, checking account, lines of credit, credit cards, retirement accounts, all of that. Make sure you keep every statement that's attached to your business. And last but not least, reports. So we got your federal and state tax reports, and that's not just talking about income tax. We're also talking about payroll tax that applies to you, right? So you gotta make sure that you have your whether you have your federal 940, 941s, or your in your state information from the State Department of Labor, right? All that good stuff. Hey, if you have not taken advantage of our tax prep bootcamp, I got good news for you. We are having another one on July 10th and 17th. But I'm letting you know now that we have changed the name of it from the tax prep bootcamp to the Know Your Numbers bootcamp. So if you need help organizing your financials, if you do not have accounting software, if you want to learn how to apply for grants but you don't know where to start, and if you're trying to pay yourself in your business and you don't have a clue how to do that, you need to be in the Know Your Numbers bootcamp. So click the link below to register. And we also have flexible payments through Klarna. We are excited to help you know your numbers. Go ahead, rest of. Let's go. Let's go. See you soon. And then your financial reports, right? Your profit and loss, your balance sheet, cash flow statement. If you issue invoices, your accounts receivable, if you pay bills through your accounting system, your accounts payable, all those types of things. So those are some of the types of documentation that you would normally have or interact with within your business or organization. So first thing that I also want to talk about next is just some of the best practices that I use. And the first thing is what I call the text box. Okay, so the text box is just a cardboard box. You can use a used box. I like going to Sam's or Office Depot and getting the banker's boxes. And I just write on the top and on the sides the year, the tax year. So 2024, I put it on the lid and I put it all around the sides of the box. And I put every piece of mail, every statement goes into that box. And then when I get free time throughout the year, I will sort it out and get things organized based off of, said category. Right? So that's a way that you can do that and keep things organized. Next thing is when it comes to your day-to-day operations. So as part of what we call the monthly close, we like teaching our entrepreneurs to reconcile their accounts every month. Why? Because you have a statement to go by. Okay, because it's just easier to check stuff off. So in this case, this is what I would suggest. To me, I feel like it's one of the most effective ways to track your spending. But like I said, you go what works for you, pick up the nuggets that you want to implement in your current situation. So when it comes to the monthly close, keep your, have your bank statement. This also goes for credit cards. This also goes for lines of credit, whatever accounts that you use to, to pay for your expenses. That's the statement that you need. Okay. And you would do this for each, account statement. So let's say for the checking account, because everybody's going to have, the business checking account. You're going to take your checking account statement and every debit that you have, you're going to take the receipt and you're going to put it behind the statement in its order on the bank statement. Now, if you notice, I had talked about deposits here, we'll do that separately, right? So you're going to make a copy. Please make a copy of your bank statement or right on the original. And so if the first debit is from, let's say, Lowe's, right? You got to do some maintenance and repair for $100. You're going to find that receipt, put that there. Then the next one, if it's Amazon, put that there. If it's another one for somewhere else, put that there, right? Even if it has like an attached invoice to it, whatever documentation that you have for that said expense, that needs to go along with the said receipt. So if you got an invoice and a payment confirmation, that's even better, right? And make sure you have all those receipts in order based off of the expense list that's organized by date on your bank statement, right? Next thing, this is something I would definitely suggest that y'all get. If you have a stamp, you can get a stamp from whoever you bank with, the folks that do the checks, right? I know for, let me see, I think one was like Deluxe, right? That's what we used to use. And you can order something from your check company and they have a stamp where it shows like the account, you might say account number or account line or expense, date, things like that. I would suggest you getting one of those stamps so you can put it on, you can stamp the receipt, and then you'll be able to list on there the date and what the particular purchase was for. If it was office supplies, if it was for advertising, if it was for travel, if it was a reimbursement or something like that. That just makes your process even better, particularly if you're taking those receipts and you're giving them to a bookkeeper, right? If you hadn't checked out the episode, Am I Doing My Bookkeeper's Job? Make sure you check that video out as well, because we talk about that. And in that episode, we talk about, am I doing my bookkeeper's job if I'm organizing the receipts? No, you're not. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Can't just give your bookkeeper a stack of receipts and just tell them to do something with it, because your bookkeeper's not going to know your purchasing habits and things like that. So you got to do that part for the bookkeeper, right? So get your little stamp, and as you're going through each of those receipts, stamp it, write down, the category that it was for. Okay. Next, for all of our e-purchases, right? Make sure that you create in your email account a folder that says 2024 receipts, or whatever the year is. Okay. In my Gmail account, I've got receipt folders for years all the way back, right? Because it's easy to track. It's easier to track. Like, as soon as you purchase something, you can just take that e-receipt, move it to that particular folder, and then when tax time comes, you can open up that folder and it'll have those receipts in there for you. Okay, so that's another way to get organized. And then also for my QuickBooks users out there, if you are using QuickBooks Online has a feature in it. If you go under bank transactions, you'll see receipts is going to be over to the right-hand side. And what you can do in the receipts feature, you can actually either upload the receipt to the receipt area, or it will assign you an email address, right? So QBO will assign you an email address specifically for your receipts. So going back to, your email account. So if you had like a Sam's Club purchase, you go to Sam's Club, and instead of, you can actually do two things. One, you can forward that receipt to your QBO receipt email address. And as soon as you do that, it's going to upload it to QuickBooks Online in the receipt area. And then you can actually attach that receipt to the particular transaction in QuickBooks. That's one thing. And then you will take that same Sam's Club receipt and you'll move it to your 2024 receipts folder. All right. So I hope that made sense. So QuickBooks Online, again, does have the receipts feature for you to store those receipts. Also, it's great. And I also want to say that it has, if you have Google Drive, you can connect your Google Drive account to QuickBooks Online as well. So you got plenty of options, y'all. Plenty of options. So that's for your expenses. Okay. Now for the deposits, and I wanted to make sure that I kept them separate because the deposit process was going to be a little bit different. Okay. So for your deposit process, one, every check that comes to you from your clients, make sure you copy every check. Copy every check. Did y'all hear me? Copy every check. Copy every check. If you're doing mobile deposit, okay, it's a little easier because you can just get on your phone. And then, but one thing I will tell you to do is keep the envelope that the check came in, so you can write on the date that you actually deposited the check. Okay. But if you're still taking checks to the bank, please copy those checks. Here. All right. Next thing you're going to need is a deposit log. You can go on Google and type in deposit log templates. Okay. I'm pretty sure you can find one for free. But your deposit log should contain the following information. One, the date that so you can write down the actual date that you received the check or the cash, right? This is going to be a different date from the date that you deposited the funds, right? Okay, so the date that you deposited the funds will probably be at the top of the log, but then you should have kind of like a spreadsheet type of table type of thing where it should show the date that you actually received the check or the cash. Next is going to be the type of deposit, whether it's a check, money order, cash, what have you. If it's a check or money order, you should have a space to where you can write the check number or the money order number. You may say reference number or something like that. Next is going to be the name of the customer who gave you the money. And then last is going to be the income type. Of course, in addition to you got to write the amount down. I forgot about that and put that in my notes. So you got to have the amount column, right? And then the income type. So if you have different sources of revenue, so it might be sales income, or product income, or it might be service income. For GIP, we've got bookkeeping income, we've got workshop income, things like that. So be very specific in what those what the income is for. And I greatly encourage all of my entrepreneurs, y'all track the different types of revenue that you're bringing in, because when it comes time for you to apply for grants, loans, stuff like that, there has not been one pitch competition or any like feedback session that I've been in and they did not ask what's the top selling product or service that your company provides. That's how you're going to get that data. All right. So try to make sure that you segment the types of income that your company receives. Okay. So again, let me go through the deposit log field. So you have the date that you received the funds, the type of deposit was check, cash, money order, or the like. If it's a check or money order, it's going to have a reference number. Make sure you put that information down. The type or the name of the customer, the amount that you received, and then the type of income that it is, right? And that will be within your chart of accounts. So if you're using the DIY tracker, which is also a part of the Know Your Numbers Bootcamp, just saying you get that as part of the program, you can list the type of income that you're receiving, or in QuickBooks, your chart of accounts will let you know the type of income that you have there as well. Okay. So once you complete the deposit log and you go to the bank, you're going to take make sure you endorse all your checks, make sure you count all your cash up, all that good stuff. You're going to take it to the bank, and then they're going to give you that little slip. So you make sure, because I told you that those receipts got invisible ink, right? Like Inspector Gadget showing my age. This receipt's going to self-destruct in 3 days. So you make sure you take that little teeny tiny receipt and you make a copy of it. Okay. And then you're going to put your whole deposit, right, in its own little documented process. So it's going to look like this. You're going to have the deposit log on top. You're going to have behind it all of the like copies of your checks or money orders. If it's cash, make sure you have a receipt, right, of the cash. So you should have some type of receipt form, right? If you're still doing manual stuff, you got the receipt book that has at least those 3 colors, the white, the pink, and the yellow, stuff like that. So every piece of, revenue is being counted for. And then also, you're also going to have a copy of the deposit receipt, right? Some people like to copy the deposit slip. It really doesn't matter to me, truth be told, because a lot of the banks, when you're making deposits, they'll scan that deposit slip as well. But if you got a deposit log, you really don't need the deposit slip, right? But make sure that little piece of paper, make sure you put that in there as well. Because guess what? Sometimes we miscount the money. So you want to make sure that you have that. And if you do miscount the money, you make sure that before you leave that bank, that you write on that receipt what the discrepancy was so you can adjust that deposit log. Okay? So that is your deposits. And if you have cash, like I said before, on that deposit log, make sure that you notate who gave you the cash. Don't sit up there and try to just put a big old amount of cash. Like if you got $1,000 in cash, I'd highly advise that you not do it like that. Make sure you itemize who gave you what. Okay? Because it never fails. Somebody's gonna ask about a payment history, and then you got to go back and try to figure it out. No bueno. No bueno. So it's good to make sure that you document the right way the first time. Okay? And again, as I mentioned, make sure that you always keep a physical copy and a digital copy of all your receipts and all your documents. Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, whatever it is, use it because you're going to need it. Okay? So I hope that this financial documentation episode helped you immensely, right? So again, I want to shout out the Know Your Numbers Bootcamp. By the time that this particular episode airs, we will be wrapping up Q2 of 2024. If you don't know how much money your business has made from January to the end of June, you need to have your rusty dusty in this class so we can show you how to organize your financials, right? Because we have 6 months to go. You need to know if your business is profitable, and if you do have a net profit, a positive number, we need to know how you're going to reduce your tax liability for the end of the year, right? Make sure that you're taking advantage of all the deductions that apply to you and your business, right? Do not let the end of the year go by. You're trying to rush and scramble, because I assure you, that's when you're not going. The chances of you getting an appointment for a bookkeeper or a tax preparer by January is going to be slim to none, right? So, and then on top of that, the fees 9 to 19 are going to be a little higher. So this is kind of like our slow season. You need to come holler at us now. And let us help you now. Because we can get you caught up. And then by January, February, all we got to do is maybe some 1099 work. And then we can get you on into the tax preparer, get your taxes filed. Okay? So don't let time pass you by. Sign up for the Know Your Numbers Bootcamp. The link will be below in the description. And we got flexible payments through Klarna, y'all. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. And this is a tax-deductible expense, right? It's education for your business. All right. So again, thank you for tuning in to the From Chaos to Clarity podcast. I'm your host, Sonja Jones, GIP Financial, your Mr. Miyagi Money. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care, y'all. And don't forget, always know your numbers. See you later. Thank y'all so much for listening to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. Again, I'm Sonja Jones of GIP Financials. You're Mr. Miyagi of Money, but I got a couple of homework assignments for you before you leave this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also leave a comment and let us know what your biggest takeaways were from this episode. And if you are looking for bookkeeping assistance or you need a money thought buddy, make sure that you go to our website, www.gipfinancials.com, and click on the schedule a consultation button at the top of our website, little green box, and you can schedule a discovery call and talk to one of our teammates to see if we're a good fit. All right. See you guys on the next episode. Take care.